He had some moments, but overall, star down to weekly guest of the GBAG Nation, Jake Ferguson. He's got this fumbling problem. It happens way too often. What was the stat that you had, Bobby?
So the first 35 games of his career, he had 0 fumbles. The last 25 games, he has 7.
A critical turning point in that game. The hands to the face erases Pickens and the pass interference that would have set up first and goal. You're down 11. You're down 17-6. You need it. So star down Jake Ferguson, even though he was involved in one of the most ridiculous calls of the season that even Cowboy haters are saying Dallas got cheated over with that OPI. Ridiculous. Crosstalk with the K&C Masterpiece. They're on the road. Find out where at 9:40. And our final Dave Chappelle ticket giveaway of the week after.
Real quick on that one play. OPI, DPI, or no call. How would you rank? Obviously, OPI was third.
Yeah. DPI.
Do you think it was definitely a DPI over a no call?
Yeah. I'm not going like 100%,
Sure.
but
Yeah.
I felt like there was 2 instances of grabbing.
Yeah, I mean, initially watching it, I thought it was DPI. I thought it was defensive pass interference. The last option is that it's offensive pass interference. That's
I've never
not what
seen
it
an
is.
offensive swim move get called. It's kind of like the Randy Gregory defensive, or what did Randy get called for?
In that playoff game, defensive holding.
Defensive holding from a D lineman. You never see a swim move called as an offensive pass interference, and it could not be replayed. Crippling and maybe the final dagger for the Cowboys game and maybe their season. Nick Eatman, DallasCowboys.com, back from Detroit. He is joining us, brought to you by the WinStar World Casino and Resort, proud to be the official casino of the Dallas Cowboys. Please game responsibly. You want to start with any of those topics or your headline, entire 2025 season on display in Detroit?
Yeah. Hey, guys, for me, everything that we saw in that game is gonna be how we, pretty much classify this 2025 season. I mean, that's kind of what I wrote. I mean, it started off kind of so, then it got bad, and it's like, okay, this is going terribly wrong. And next thing you know, they kind of suck us back into it, going, man, is there a chance here? They could come back and win this game?
Yeah.
And then in the end, it's like, nah, this is too much. It was a good effort. It was a good try, but really at the end, you're just not good enough. And that's kind of, everything about it, kind of a frustrating year for CD, frustrating game. Dak has to do everything. The only thing that's not going to be, described as this game with the whole season is the way Pickens plays. Because Pickens is going to, I think we're going to say that, he had a really, really good year. But this one wasn't that game, of course. But, I just kind of think this whole season was kind of wrapped into a few hours.
Yeah, Nick, when you say it was a good job, it was a good effort, the good effort part, are you referring to George Pickens there?
No, I'm referring. Honestly, when I woke up, like 30 minutes after I fell asleep, when I woke up, I was like, I think I was a little too harsh on them. I know they lost the game, and it was kind of like what the game meant, but I'm like, they did fight. It was, 27 to 9? Was that the score?
Yeah.
I mean, like, okay, and they battled 30 to 27 and all that. I give them credit for CD being out, Flanoy balling out like that. But the effort to come back, but yeah, not to come back for the ball or some of those plays. But it's funny, like as soon as when you guys were talking about that play, the PI travesty, like when I'm sitting here thinking about it. And I don't think I've ever seen this call, but I think this would have been the right call. 2 flags were thrown, 40 yards apart? So two guys saw it differently, right? So, and that's why they're talking about it for a few minutes. And I'm thinking, well, one guy obviously said offensive PI, and the other one said defensive PI. I mean, how crazy would it have been if they just said, all right, call it both, and it's offsetting penalties, and we'll just do it again? Because one guy obviously dominated that conversation and said, no, it's offensive PI, I win, and here's the call, and that's the call. You know what I mean? There's no way that 4 eyes saw offensive pass interference on that. I mean, one guy saw it one way, one guy saw it the other, and then whoever probably is the loudest in the room was the one that won that conversation.
What do you make of the Pickens effort conversation that's taking place?
Man, I hate to talk about effort. Just because it's hard. It's hard to know that. But Dak doesn't throw people under the bus, and he didn't. But man, he was pretty clear about it. About that wasn't his best game, and he'll be the first to tell you. He didn't tell us, obviously, but he didn't talk. I don't think he talked to the media. Bobby might know that.
No.
I don't think he did. And that's kind of part of it too. That's one of the Jason Garrett terms. It comes with the dinner. I mean, that's when you're going to get the money that he's gonna command. Then part of that is facing the music there at the end of the games and things like that. But it did not. It seemed off. There's no doubt about it. And some of the passes, just kind of the routes weren't as crisp. The slant wasn't hitting like it had earlier in the season or all season long. It just wasn't there. But those two pass interference penalties on the offense were crushing. I mean, one of them is going to put you on the 4-yard line and probably go score a touchdown there and to cut it to 3. Now, you still have to kick off. If you score a touchdown, you still have to kick off to, Josh Cribbs or Hester back there. Jeez, what? I mean, that, and then I found out later that he was the backup. He's the backup kick returner. So it was weird special teams night, because your kicker's setting all kinds of records, 60-yarder, 50-yarder. Sam Williams blocks another kick, but yet it was a terrible special teams night. So.
Does the Pickens game make you question what you want to do with him in the future at all?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a question they had, and it's not just that. It's he's late. He's late to everything. I mean, he's late. He misses things. He gets fined. He's been fined a lot. Some by the NFL, some by the Cowboys, and that's on his rookie deal. Give him $30 million dollars more in a year, and I don't know. Like I just don't know a lot of the things. What motivates him, what drives him. He's unique, and he's not somebody that I would say I know very well, and I don't think a lot of the people in the media, maybe his teammates do. I know he's an unbelievable talent, but that just like I just keep saying, I mean, something was off, and you just have to wonder why.
Yeah.
Why in a game that meant so much, and that's what I wondered all week. Now I did pick the Cowboys. I kind of flipped. Last second recruiting day, grabbed a different house. I said, you know what? And I bought into this. I fell for it. I really thought St. Brown was injured. Yeah. And I thought it sounded like every offensive lineman was going to be out of the game. They didn't miss one player. The Lions were pretty much intact other than Laporta for what they've done all year and last year. I mean, that was the Lions team. It was the Cowboys that was a little bit more banged up. But what I was going to say is I wondered, would they be as desperate as the Lions? They should be, but will they be? And it didn't seem like it.
Nick Eatman, DallasCowboys.com, back from Detroit on the D&M Leasing Hotline. Were you more fooled by Amon-Ra St. Brown or the Cowboys defense?
I mean, I was fooled by the St. Brown situation that, his foot was going to fall off, like 3 days ago, and then next thing you know, and the whole like he's gutty, he's a warrior. Nah, I think it was some gamesmanship. I think that was another trick play by Dan Campbell. Yeah, it was good play.
But this defense, Nick, went to a point. It gave me the nightmares from the first half of the season where I found myself begging and ultimately hopeless that they could get one single solitary stop. Because when they were down 3, I said one stop here and they're winning it. And the Lions didn't punt until 8 minutes left in the second quarter. They didn't punt again. Yeah. It was that game again where you're just wondering, you're just trying to get stops, you're just trying to get off the field, and then it goes back to, who are you more unsure about as far as like kind of what's going on, Pickens or Diggs, and that's the thing, I don't know if he's healthy. He said he was. He said he could play, but then again, players say that all the time, but. I just don't know what's going on, but I know this: a healthy Trayvon Diggs probably wins the game for you if he's healthy. If he's healthy and he plays the way we haven't seen it. We haven't seen that in a while. But if he's healthy and back to kind of somewhat close to normal,
I think they win that game. So that's what's so weird of what's really going on there. And it's crazy that you're talking about, high-profile corners and wide receivers, and you just don't know what's going on behind the scenes. But talent-wise, if they were there and they were given 100% of what they've got, it could be a different game.
Well, they do have an injury in Detroit. It's just after the fact. Brian Branch has torn his Achilles, according to Jeremy Fowler. But, Nick, you are the Trayvon.
Did he walk off the fild?
Well, didn't Kobe? Kobe walked to the free throw line.
Yeah, Kobe made a shot and then left.
Trayvon, you're the Trayvon Diggs whisperer. And,
oh my gosh.
And he was on IR 4 weeks, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So for him not to have played, this is just thinking out loud, medical common sense. For him not to have played yesterday, you got to tell me that knee was so severely damaged that it's still not fully recovered. After 4 weeks, his knee was that bad and awful to where it still wasn't good for last night. So is it more the former or the latter, and you don't even have to fill in a blank?
Well, there's other reasons, and I don't know this, and to call me the Diggs whisperer, man, that's scary.
Sorry, the Diggs defender, I guess.
I like the guy.
You and Calvin.
No, that's like I told you guys last time. I think he's misunderstood. I'm the first one in line that'll say I don't understand him. So, but no, I think that there's more things that'll keep you out of the game. You know what I mean? If you're gone for 4 weeks, it's really 5 because he's 5 games. That he didn't play, and he had some swelling there in the knee. But obviously your conditioning may not be what it needs to be to play in a game like that. Yeah, you might feel good, but you haven't been playing football. You haven't been practicing football, and you've got to get yourself back to that. Overshone and Revel, their 21-day windows, they had to exhaust all of those 21 days before they played. So now that he's more of a veteran than that, but I'm just saying there's other reasons than just the knee injury of why he didn't play.
Is this it? Was this the final nail?
No. I mean, unless you get the asterisk. I mean, if you have the asterisk on the standings that say eliminated, then no. I mean, y'all y'all say that, but no, I don't think if that's what you're asking.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. I mean, you're going to be favored in every game that you played, and let's don't act like that. They didn't win the game. They didn't have 3 upsets in a row. I mean, they were underdogs 3 straight times. They didn't get that third one, and we knew this one was going to be tough. But if that matters, then they're going to probably be favored in some of these games. Most of these games, I would think. Maybe not Washington. Who knows? But I think they'll be favored in most of these games if they go out and win and see what happens. But I mean, even Dak is as optimistic and realistic as it gets, and he even says, it's going to be a tough. Either they're going to need help. They're going to need help. But it's a crazy world, crazy league. We'll see what happens. Maybe other teams' best players aren't going to have their best games when they need them the most as well.
Thank you, brother. We appreciate it. Enjoy the weekend.
Right. See you guys. Thank you.
And Corey, I feel like people are sad today. Are you sad today? Are you angry? How are we feeling?
I'm disappointed in what I felt was a team that wasn't prepared for the moment last night. They went into that game. They needed to punch somebody in the mouth, shut a stadium up, and they refused to do that immediately. They let the Lions take control of that game in every aspect, from offense to defense, and they weren't prepared for it. And Kevin, that's quite honestly a team that knows how to and has been in big games and knows how to play and prepare for those big games, and this team doesn't know how to do that yet. And I don't know if it's going to this season, because I don't think it's going to get that opportunity to. So, yeah, it's frustrating to be listening, to watch, and to be like, I'm ready for maybe the biggest moments on a Thursday night on Amazon in front of the world. I'm ready for it, and my team shows up and says, let's start with field goals, fellas. This is going to be a blast.
And I'm trying to figure out what is the most frustrating aspect of it all from an individual or team positioning standpoint, because I know you can go with the defense across the board, just horrendous last night. Revel was just awful. The offensive line was terrible. I thought this was a bad night for Shoddy. There are so many different aspects that you can pick from, not to mention George Pickens, not his finest effort. By the way, that's 2 straight games where, to George Pickens' standards, which are admittedly high already this season, have been decidedly subpar for him. I'm curious what people's most frustrating player or unit or whatever is coming out of last night's game. Because if you say all of it, that makes sense to me too.
Yeah, Pickens is a part of the conversation. I didn't love the defense at all last night.
No.
Lots of different things we can discuss regarding the defense last night. But I do want to say with Pickens, I got in the car and I was driving and I heard the tip pass for interception off his hands.
Yep.
And I started thinking to myself, did he just Josh Hamilton us? Did he do what he needed to do to get his next contract? And then he was like, you know what, guys? I'm swinging at every first pitch I see, and the next pitch, and the next pitch, and going back to the dugout, just like Josh Hamilton did whenever he got his contract with the Angels. By mid-season, Josh Hamilton had done enough to say, I can get whatever contract I want. Go back and look at those stats that year. They were so good. He could have been.
I thought he was going to have the greatest offensive season of all time.
Ever. And then he was like, nah, I'm good, guys. And then I thought that about Pickens last night. And then I was thinking, man, his reputation does not lend itself to be able to do that. You have too many other, and I guess Josh Hamilton's reputation but preceded him too, but they didn't care. But his reputation so far says, hey, man, I have to go out and put a full season together. And to be missing, to be late to meetings, to have moments like that in a game, and to just kind of look like you're not giving the max effort out there is not, I don't think it's conducive to that. It's not something beneficial to this Cowboys team, especially last night when you needed them the most. And Ryan Flournoy said, hey, it's my turn to shine.
And look, I'm not diminishing anybody's opinion. This was phrased as a question, though. Is playing that many games in a short amount of time an excuse? It's pretty tough. I think the answer is no, just because you do this every single year, and Dak has been through this again and again and again, and you have so many people in this organization who have been through this again and again and again. And so I would just throw that out there for one thing. But I saw Richard Sherman go off on George Pickens. I saw George Pickens, I guess, kind of response to that, and he was talking about the defensive coverage and everything like that. I'm not here to dispute that whatsoever. My issue was when the ball did go to him. Mm-hmm. Like I'm not critiquing the fact that more balls didn't go to him, because I understand what he's saying about defensive coverage, especially prior to CeeDee Lamb getting hurt. And by the way, what the hell was that play? Mm-hmm. That play was a terrible idea to begin with. But it was when the ball did go to him, and you even saw Dak sitting next to him on the bench, like showing him how he preferred him not short arm the ball, essentially.
The first one that really stands out was the one where he was driving on his slant, which was unstoppable, which if you listen to Brad and Babe last night, they kept mentioning that, and they were like, look, it's not unstoppable now. And I was like, hey, guys, it was before, all right? But then on that play, I had two thoughts. One, he saw that guy coming across the field. He was like, nope, I can't get injured. I have a contract I got to deal with. Or he was trying to make a spin move out of it and trying to turn to his left and take off upfield and just didn't get, you know how receivers sometimes they try to go before they get the ball. Either way, when you look at what happened the rest of the game, you go, okay, well, I'll just chalk it up to that. Kevin, the other thing that was miserable last night, just absolutely miserable, is your starting field position for the Lions. Your special teams, your kick coverage was awful last night. Your special teams wasn't good in general last night.
Except for one of them.
But given the ball to their average field position, their average starting field position was their own 43. You gave them half a field to cover. Yep. Those guys can do that in their sleep, especially when they have St. Brown on the field. So last night, that was a poor effort on the special teams part, not being able to make bigger stops earlier on. It really put this team in a bad hole.
You know, and it's really funny because I see people saying special teams. Outside of Anger and Brandon Aubrey.
And Sam Williams.
Yeah, because, and there were plenty of positives, like Brandon Aubrey, I don't think this will end up mattering in the long term, but first player in the history of the NFL to kick 3 55-plus yard field goals. But then the Brian Anger play that I thought was going to be huge, end up meaning nothing, was when they didn't get the safety, and he punted it like 62 yards out of the end zone on a short snap and everything like that. But the most important part of it all was it felt like the touchback should have just been at the 45 because just again and again and again. And look, I hated Schottenheimer kicking the field goal at 37-27 because I was like, your defense hasn't been able to stop anybody for 6 straight possessions. But then when they returned the ball almost to midfield, I was like, okay, well, I guess the game is over.
I'm curious
and
about
it took
this.
5 seconds for them to score a touchdown.
I know Brandon Aubrey is a weapon because we talk about, hey, dude, he can kick it from 63 yards. But I wonder how many of those times back in the day that was field position game where you were like, we can't kick it from there. Let's put them on there too.
Sure.
And you gave another team bad field position, and then you got better field position because of it. But now you're just like, let's just take the 3. Look, that's a different era.
This is the worst game Bill Parcells would have ever watched. He was like, what are you doing?
Yeah,
you could pin him down at the 4, 3 straight possessions.
Yeah, and then maybe you can get a stop, and then you get the ball at the 50 from the 2-5-4. Whatever happens with Pickens, I'm looking forward to more floor noise. More noise is what I want in the future. So that's a positive right there, and I'll take that from last night. Other than that, a tough one, taking a lot of positives out of a loss like that.
That's probably what will end up happening.
Sure.
It'll probably end up being that way. But
90% chance, 91.
There was something about these last 3 weeks, these last 3 games. It wasn't even 3 weeks. We didn't even get that far.
There you go.
It was so much fun. That joy. I was so happy. It was the hope. It was the optimism. It was like, gosh, this team might actually have a chance. And when you get into those moments, like, that's what being a fan's all about. Now, unfortunately, as a Cowboy fan, we do this all the time, and it ends in severe disappointment and often your heart being ripped out and just broken to a million Cowboy pieces.
Thank you.
But we get back up like Rocky Balboa, and we want some more.
That's right.
You ain't so bad.
You ain't so bad.
You ain't so bad. And we can take it, right? We can go round after round
That's what we
after
sign
round.
up for.
Because we're built for this. And eventually, which might never happen, I might die and never see it. And gosh, that would hurt. I guess I wouldn't know. I wouldn't be here. But you'd like to think eventually it'll go our way.
Yeah, I don't know if we were built for it, if we've been conditioned by it by 3 decades of suffering, just to kind of know how to roll with it and make the most of it. But I was in such a damn good mood yesterday. To reflect on it now, I think maybe it's just because our sports seasons have really been so massively disappointing, really since the Mavs' final run. We're coming up on 3 years of sports disappointment. I think it maybe put me in a little bit of a sports depression, and yesterday was a reprieve from it.
Yeah.
Pretty much everything since Thanksgiving is how normal life should be as a sports fan, but it's tough, and now we're left here to pick up the pieces at 877-881-1053. There's so many different ways of talking about this. I'd love to get your guys' thoughts on the corners. Like, I was so ticked off when Revel had that sequence at the end of the first half. I'm like, how is Amon-Ra St. Brown cleared? And we can't get Trayvon Diggs. Like, how is Diggs not ready after basically rehabbing for 7 weeks? He didn't miss those games because the knees were so bad. He was playing through that. He got the concussion. All of a sudden, he's out. Okay, he's going on IR. And now, he's, oh, cool. We're getting ready to have Trayvon Diggs back. Nope, sorry, not ready. I think this organization is being too careful, and I don't want to point fingers. I don't know who's responsible for it, but I think this organization is too careful bringing injured players back. It happened with CeeDee Lamb. Might have cost you the Carolina game. You saw last night Amon-Ra St. Brown, what a professional athlete with a sprained ankle can do in a week's time, right? And CeeDee Lamb's ankle, was it worse than Amon-Ra St. Brown? Was it less extreme? I don't know, but I do know Amon-Ra didn't try to come back in that game last week for the Lions, and CeeDee Lamb did against Chicago. He was like, yeah, just don't have it. And then he said, yeah, they're going to protect me from myself. Revel played one of the worst games for corner that I've seen.
Yeah, it was bad.
I mean, he should have picked off that ball in the third quarter if you just stick with the guy. I mean, I don't know. I guess he turned his head and looked at the quarterback for a split second. The receiver was gone. But if you're with that guy, that's an interception. We're going back the other way. Totally different game. The tripping on himself, the pass interference, like Revel should not be on the field for a team trying to steal a playoff spot in December.
Yeah, I mean that's a great point, and I don't think they're using him appropriately. When Broadus talks about him as a prospect and the way he was a press man corner, and you're probably not putting him in that type of position right now. But yeah, you have him out there in what is the biggest game of your season, and you're slow playing a guy like Diggs, and I don't know how much Diggs would really help you right now. But in hindsight, after watching that game, couldn't have been much worse than what those guys were doing. Even Bland. I mean, Bland was getting cooked.
I think
Bland got absolutely cooked last night. He got embarrassed.
And I know I'm a Revel apologist and all that, but
I mean, he's a rookie. There's still a bright future ahead.
Bland was far worse.
Terrible
in this
and
game.
He had a chance to one of his vintage undercut the ball, take it to the house pigs.
Yes.
Isn't able to make the play. The one on the sideline, though, is the worst play, where he's got Gibbs 2 yards shy of a first down.
That's going to be,
and
you make that tackle, just knock, if you can knock him out of bounds, they're punting,
And I will say, big-time props to Jahmyr Gibbs.
Gibbs,
his start-stop and the explosiveness and all that stuff, I mean, jumps off the freaking screen.
Got a first-round runner that was worth it, maybe?
Yeah.
But he is also a really good receiver.
Yeah, he's a great receiver. You saw that throughout the game as well. His explosiveness, that was a huge takeaway. If you're not used to watching Detroit Lions games, who the hell is number 0?
Yeah.
Because that dude is a freak show. But not only was it the juke where he breaks the ankles in a way that is I don't even know how you can come back from that. And then it's on the other sideline, I'm going to stiff arm you, Deron Bland, to the ground. I am your daddy. And then St. Brown is beating the heck out of him. Jameson Williams. And again, that's another explosive dude with the start-stop stuff that is next level. But Bland couldn't do anything last night other than one tackle in the backfield, which cool. But it was just and it's not like he's a guy that you question his effort and all those sorts of things. It's just you were undressed.
Yeah.
I thought the Lions ball carriers might have taken away his aggression last night. He was coming up I don't want to lose you. I'm trying to tackle you. And he's at his best when he's coming downhill and trying to hit somebody. But maybe he just felt like he was going to totally whiff if he did that against that.
There was a lot of that on the defense. It was a lot of let me wait. Instead of just attack.
And Kenneth Murray, come on,
100%. And the difference. I mean, you could see it. The difference in swarming to the football, gang tackling. The Lions didn't need a lot of gang tackling because they are a good tackling team. So it was one guy gets there, you're on the ground usually. But even if not, you've got a swarm of white jerseys flying to the ball carrier. Cowboys didn't have that. It is arm tackle, missed tackle, left and right. It is waiting. Let's see what's going to happen, and then whoop, I'm going to get just spun around or juked. It was it was definitely telling just how poor the safeties we knew were bad. The corners had a rough night, but the linebackers, it was a bad night.
It was
for all three of those.
Yeah, and even how many times is Osa getting blown off the ball? In touchdown runs,
there was
just getting washed completely.
Yeah,
that was
not even giving your linebackers a chance. That's supposed to be the strength of your team, and your guys are getting totally blown off the ball. And I will never, for the life of me, understand why Matt Eberflus is putting Marquise Bell in single coverage with Jameson Williams.
Did it twice.
At no point should that ever even be a suggestion. Yeah. And that happened twice last night. You got cooked.
Yeah, definitely. But I do think a lot of it is just not having good enough players.
The personnel hasn't been good. And it improved because you got Quinnen Williams, who's a badass, and it's great to have him now as a foundational building block. But that was very
But Kenneth Murray, you identified as a guy you wanted to go get.
Yeah.
And you told us in the offseason you thought he was good, and we all looked at you like, are you insane?
Right.
Everybody knew it. Osa, you just paid him $20 million a year.
And I don't know how much better Logan Wilson is. He really hasn't showed up in a big way.
He's definitely better, but he's also not great. But he's better than what Kenneth Murray is. Now Osa's contract, I think, looking back, he's only, I think it's the 16th highest paid defensive tackle. That's really not a bad contract.
I get that,
but
I get that, but you still made him one of your highest paid defensive players.
Yes.
This is a guy you thought, okay, we're building around
and
you.
He has been much better with the addition of Quinnen.
He has been, yes, but last night.
That was what really was upsetting to see because that was what we pointed to as the difference.
Yes.
They were physical at the line of scrimmage. They could finally line up, and they would be the bullies and not be bullied. Well, they got bullied again last night, and it was on the offensive and defensive lines. They lost the game.
Kenny Clark, hey, man, we want this guy. Yeah. He got pushed around last night.
Yeah, so you had that side of the line of scrimmage that was disappointing. That mismatch never really materialized as the Lions were ready. They felt like their season was on the line, and many of their players played as good as they can. On the other side, the fact that the Lions get, 5 sacks after only having one over the last couple of weeks and not really even averaging one over the last month for any game. So after watching Terrence Steele get ghosted and Nate Thomas struggle, I think we all can't wait to get Tyler Guyton back. But really, I can't wait to get to next year in free agency and then in the draft to see how they address right tackle, because I think it's a big enough weakness right now that I would definitely be willing to use one of my first-round picks. So I looked up Dane's list. I jumped on there. I'm looking at the Utah guys. Is Spencer Fano?
Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah, he's great. So, I mean, if you have the 10th pick and he's there, I'd take him. I mean, the good news is you need linebacker, corner, tackle, right? Really bad. And maybe even edge. Like wherever your first round pick is, there's going to be a player at a sufficient position of need. But I wouldn't rule out tackle for late April or early May whenever we get to that first round. Offensive tackle.
With this team, I don't think you ever can. You can't ever rule out an offensive lineman.
Yeah, I mean they might end up taking a tackle first round in 4 out of 5 years.
That might be.
Okay, Brian's going to tell you more about special teams and that kick coverage coming up.
Yeah, I will
at 3:40 and take a look at the film for you. Amon-Ra St. Brown playing.
It's a big surprise, and honestly,
the Cowboys went into that game knowing about the injury that he wasn't going to play.
But all those guys, like the linemen, we thought, okay, well, how good will they be? They all looked fine. They all looked really good.
They really did believe that St. Brown was not going to play in that game.
Yeah, and it had a big impact in some key moments. I don't think he was 100%, but he wasn't too far off. And salute to him for being tough. The officiating was annoying. It didn't end up being as bad as I thought it was going to be when I looked at the box score at the end of the night. But it seemed like there for a lot of the second half, like you couldn't go any play and trust what your eyes had just showed you. But I thought the OPI on Ferguson, 37-27, that could have been a first down if it had gone DPI. I thought that was actually fair by the refs. That was because Ferguson's left hand comes up and it catches the shoulder, right?
It grabs him. He pulled himself around.
That's why dude reached back and hooked his hip.
Yeah.
Was because Ferguson had kind of turned his body. I think a finger caught the jersey, kind of like Pickens' finger caught the helmet.
On tape, he grabbed him.
He grabbed him.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, he did.
I was pretty ticked
I'll pull it up
off
and
about
show
that
you
one.
guys. I'll pull you up and show it to you.
I don't care if he grabbed him. It was a horse-ass call.
I think they probably didn't want to give the free first down on a play where both guys were getting handsy.
Yeah, then just keep the flag in the pocket.
Yeah, that's what I think they should have done. Just said no flag on the play.
And the other one was
that's impossible for that crew.
The Pickens call on what was the rub route or the pick play.
Yeah.
Obvious. I mean, he's got to fight through that.
He's trying. He doesn't block. That's the thing, though. Usually they're calling that if he's blocking and you engage before the ball's caught.
Oh, that one on the pick play. Yeah,
his hands are. He's not touching anybody. He's just trying to run through traffic.
Yeah.
And I don't know really what else
he
he's
shouldn't try to
do.
sell it. He should have just kept running.
The DB did a good job of selling it.
Yeah.
I think that's what really caught the ref's attention.
Yes, and the way that Al Michaels and Herbie reacted to it, I thought when we went to the replay, it was going to be like he had
obvious
redirected his path to run into the guy, but it kind of looked like he was just running a route.
Right, exactly. And the
DB slid to the left and ended up there. I didn't
love that call. And then the hold on Quinnen Williams on the big third down. Look, the holds, I get it. It's tough. They didn't lose because of the penalties, but I did think it was a poorly officiated game, really on both sides of the ball. I thought there were probably some calls the Cowboys got away with, the Lions fans, I'm sure, are frustrated with. We just have such an issue with consistency across the entire league. I mean, Brian, you're giving us the breakdown of every crew and how nobody sees these things the same. There's an issue from week to week depending on who is officiating your game. There is not a consistency of how these games are officiated, and that's a problem.
Facts. Yeah, they need to do a better job at this. Okay, George Pickens with a struggle game. We talked with Stephen Jones at the top of the show. He said it's not a red flag. I don't think it could be. You're going to have ups and downs. It's really unfortunate that in the Chicago game and in this game as well, you have drops that end up just like deflecting right to a defensive player, and it has a massive impact on the game. They went down, 18 points, 17 points after that play, just as they did against Chicago, and I thought it was effectively the end of the game, although the Cowboys rallied to get within 3. They couldn't get any more stops. But 5 catches for 37 yards on 9 targets for Pickens. I wondered if the article in ESPN talking about how the perspective from Pittsburgh maybe got into his head a little bit.
He was a child, and
yeah, I wonder how reading that, because is it a coincidence that hours later he has his least focused game for the Cowboys? I mean, he'll talk about the game plan that the Lions had. I've seen some metrics that say he was singled covered the majority of the night. But, I mean, Dak was throwing a lot to Flanoy early. So maybe there's something to it. But I guess my thought on George Pickens would be he's not the most locked-in guy. His personality is totally unique to anybody. I don't know that his attention span or his internal compass on which way is north at all times is even that functioning. I think that's part of his charm. Like, he is just a free spirit in every way, and it can be difficult to harness it. And if he's not having a good day or a good game, I don't think there's anything he or the coaches can do about it. Like, I think there's been some slander about, like, George just doesn't want it. I think that's a disservice to what mental health or focus or attention span actually is. It's just brain chemistry, and he's a different guy, so you take the ups and downs.
Yeah, and I used the word effort last night in the post-game show, and I do agree with what Jerry said. It's hard. I shouldn't have used that word because I don't know that I wanted to question his effort. The deep ball.
The third down was bad.
The deep ball is why I said that, right? Because those are plays like we've seen him, extend or go make a play on the ball.
When you watched the play, what did you see?
I thought he had a chance to make a play on it, and he kind of pulls up.
Yeah, the thing that I noticed was, to me, he's going to sell the route like outside to buy him some space. So he gets a head fake. Mm-hmm. The one thing we all know George Pickens can do is what? Track the ball.
Right. Better than anybody.
Better than anybody. So he gives a head fake to the outside. And so now it's like he's cleared himself, and then he kind of looks up and he sees Maddox coming over. So you kind of see his eyes there. You never really see him look up for the ball. I don't think he knew.
And then he just kind of came down and landed on his foot.
Yeah, I don't think he knew where the ball was. I think he was dealing with the head fake to clear and then try to get to Maddox and get past him, the safety.
Which is a distraction, I guess, that he's been able to limit, right?
Oh, no.
Throughout the year.
It was really strange.
Those are plays that he'd been making.
No, he tracks the ball better than anybody. And in that play, you could see that his eyes weren't anywhere looking up at the ball. There was a route that he ran really early in the game. Again, this was after Maddox comes into the game. They're down there, and Pickens is running the end, and it's like all of a sudden it's like he kind of like alligators the arm a little, or his hands, Because I think
one that was thrown inside?
Yeah, I think
Maddox almost picked it.
Yeah, I think he was worried that Maddox was going to light him up.
Which is so weird.
Yeah,
that's not what we'd seen from him.
No.
Yeah, I don't know if it was engaged or it was maybe distraction.
It
didn't look like the same player.
I'm just going to say this, though, about him. If you watch him play all year long, his routes are not good. He is not a good route runner.
Yes, he's
and
not.
You could almost call him like lazy running routes. But you watch, I watched all of his plays. I sat down this morning and said, just give me every time he's on the field. And whether the ball is to his side or it's a run, he is not coming off the ball and doing what he needs to do. But that's how he plays. But when it's like it's determined that he might be like he's got a shot to get a corner, like on the 2-point play, like he's got a shot to get, or the touchdown before to get to 2-point. He's got a chance because he's going up and going to the corner. And you see, like, knowing that, okay, I got to go get open. If he doesn't feel like that it's probably going to be hit in his direction.
Yeah, he's not as
He's
engaged.
not these guys that just keeps pounding routes on somebody and like keeps working on him.
Man,
it's like he lulls.
We need route pounders, man.
Yeah.
Like, we got to have more of them.
He could be the absolute GOAT if he could get that figured out.
Which is, again, he's so talented, and I
Yeah.
think there's been so much way more good than the one bad game that he put on. The problem was the timing of it.
Yeah.
It's the biggest game of the season.
Yeah.
And when CD had struggled, you saw George step up, and he was the dude. Last night, I think that was happening. I think George was struggling. CD was unguardable. The unfortunate part was CD gets concussed and he's knocked out of the game. So then the onus is back on George. We need you.
Well,
and he wasn't able to live up to that expectation.
What happened was Detroit's plan for him, they had one. They weren't going to let him run the slant. They weren't going to let him play. Once Lamb went out of the game, you could clearly see that they got into cover 2, and then once Lamb was out, they went single high, and they shaded that safety to the side of Pickens, and so he's over there running routes against a corner and then a safety to that side, and the Lions are determined. They're like, okay, Flanoy, you if you want to beat us. And I think that's why the ball kept going to Flanoy.
And it did. And I will say this, and you're right, but George is so good that I don't care what the team's doing. And I think Dak has proven this. He can be double covered. He can be triple covered. He will go up and make plays no matter what the defense is doing on him. He is that talented of a player. He's one of these guys that no matter what their plan is, do whatever you want on him. Well, he talked about it this week with that slant. No matter how they want to defend it, he's going to find a way to make a play.
Well, this is the first time that I've seen somebody play him where they buzz that outside linebacker into that area. Like they're like, listen, we're going to take it, whether it's Anzalone or Campbell, and to whoever's the side of Pickens, that linebacker was buzzing into that, and I mean buzzing like going into that area where the slant could be.
Yeah.